What is going on, guys? It is Tony from Lone Wolf Paintball, and today we are talking Ninja Paintball Pro V2 spring stacks.
And why? Because who's the best source for Ninja tanks?
The Ninja tanks would be lonewolfpaintball.com. Before we jump on into this video, guys, head on over to pbswagbag.com. Use our code LWP10 at checkout to save 10% off your first monthly subscription.
Sometimes they have stuff that can work with your Ninja tank.
That is very true. So, Mark, we're going to dive right on into the Pro V2 Reg by Ninja Paintball and pretty much how to adjust it and get it back together the correct way.
Well, why would we be doing that?
Because a lot of players and customers out there want to dive into their tanks, which is nothing to mess with, really, unless you know what you're doing, and they've had problems. So we're here to show you what the shims and the spring stacks can do. So let's do it.
All right.
Come on in. Bring it on in, Mark. Bring it on in. Right here in the manual that comes stock in your box, you are going to see the most important part of this manual is going to be down here in this lower section. You have your spring stack, the correct way it should be put back onto the piston of your tank. Or inside of the bonnet, actually. Obviously there's a piston, which you're going to see in a minute, and then you have the shim count right here, Mark. 3 shims, you're at 800, 2, 700, and it goes down if you leave 1 shim in, 550, and then 450 output pressure on your tank if you took all of the shims out. So guys, once again, included in your manual, this is the correct way of your spring stack, and if you're looking for a certain output pressure of your tank, it is right here in the manual. So Mark, I have a brand new Pro V2 Reg here by Ninja Paintball, and we will do just that for you. First things first, you're going to need a 5/64 Allen key to actually take out the top 3 set screws here. The ones on the actual gold line, that's to do the pivot rotation for your fill nipple and your gauge. So if you kind of want to readjust it once the tank is screwed on your gun, that's the only time you mess with the set screws in the gold area. If you're looking to remove shims or you have maintenance to do, you're probably going to want to take out the set screws in the black area on the bonnet. So we will take those out.
You want to make sure all the air is out of your tank before you do this, guys.
100%. There's going to be 3 set screws. I just took out 1. Rotate it more. Once again, using your 5/64. We're going to take out a second. There's 2. And then we're going to go 3. So guys, yeah, this is pretty much important. Like Mark just said, make sure this tank is degassed. You're not messing with any active air pressure inside of the bottle. Take off the top screw. Simply, normally by hand stock out of the factory, you will be able to just unscrew this top piece, and that will give you access to your shims and then your spring stack. Most importantly, a lot of people, I'll take this out first off the piston. A lot of people, Mark, think this can come out, these are the shims. This is your spring stack, guys, and it has to go back on a certain way. You guys just saw on the manual the correct way to do it, but we'll show you. So that is your spring stack. And this in here, these, if you can see in there, Mark, those are your shims. It should come with 3 shims stock from the factory. Once again, if you guys are pulling out all 3 shims, you have an output pressure of 800. If you take out just one of those blue shims, brings you to 700. Take out 2 of them, you're down to 550. If you take out all of them, you are at 450 output pressure from the tank.
Can you pull one out just so we can see it? Because it's hard to tell what's tank and what's shim.
Okay, so that is what one of their blue shims looks like that sits in here. Once again, you have shim that's lower in the portion of the tank, and then you have your spring stack. So shims, I'm going to put that back in there for now. Stock output pressure 800. We'll set this off to the side.
And the shims can go in either way, right? There's no
Correct.
top or bottom?
They're flat. They're not concave or anything, but the spring stack, most importantly, which we've seen, people, get in here and think these are the shims. They're taking the spring stack apart. You have all of these that are just laying there. They're concave for a reason. That is going to get your output pressure through the tank. So pretty much what we're going to do here, we are going to make sure that your first, hold on, let me get this off. Okay, so we have an empty piston here, took all the springs off. Your first one is going to be going on. It's got a curve to it, Mark. So that curve is going upwards onto this piston, and then you're going to be rotating every other. So make sure the concave part is going, what would you say, like face up into the piston? Because it's got a curve to it. So make sure that curve is upward on your piston when you're reinstalling this. So it's got a curve to it, and you'll see now. So there's a curve there. Now we're going to rotate. Now you want the curve facing the very bottom of your piston, and you're going to go every other one. That was curved down. Now we're gonna go curve back up to kind of make a nice little pack here. And then we're gonna just rotate every other one. And you will see here, it'll come back to stock in just a moment for us. Once again, guys, it's in the manual. So this is not rocket science by any means. No, I'm not an engineer, but we will make this work. Every other rotational one, and you should end up with your concave facing down, and your spring stack should look just like that. Don't go with all the same way. You need little gaps in between to actually make this properly work for the output pressure on your tank. And then you're gonna throw your spring back into the actual piston itself. And guys, it's pretty much that easy. A lot of people will take off this lower O-ring mark just so they don't damage it when you're putting those spring stacks back on. So if you guys have a nice dental pick, you can pull off that lower O-ring first and then adjust your springs and put it back on afterwards. But little lube, you guys can definitely get those on with ease.
Okay, I was gonna say, other than taking the O-ring off and maybe lubing that O-ring.
Just a little bit, yep.
You don't want to do anything else to these spring stack, correct?
No, the spring stack I would literally never touch because it has nothing to do with the output pressure. All the output pressure is going to be coming, leave that stock. Spring stack, don't touch it. The shims is what is going to be getting you to your designated output pressure on this tank. So the shims, once again, are sitting in here, guys. Those are 3. Read the manual. Once again, everything right in this area is all listed pretty clear by Ninja. They're great with that. It shows you, once again, 3 800, 2 700, 1 550. If you have 0 shims left in here, you will be down to 450 PSI. And once again, spring stack, guys, this is the correct way to put on the spring stack. And then you're simply going to, put the piston and all that back on. Screw your set screws on. I only brought these other 2 wrenches here, Mark, just to show you. Once you get your set screws back on with the 5/64, get them in there, and you either have a T-handle to finally do one nice final crank down with it, or a lot of people will just have a basic Allen wrench, but it's very important to make sure that's nice and tight so the bottle is not coming loose on you during play. So we're going to put this back together, and that is just a real quick video on the importance of the actual spring stack and what those shims do for you. So Mark, while I'm putting this boy back together here, you got any other questions for me? What do you think importance-wise for the people out there? What do you think?
Well, I just think it's important for people to know, don't touch the spring stack. There's no real reason for you to take it apart. If you do, check your owner's manual to make sure. Don't confuse your spring stack with your shims. And realistically, there's really no reason to even take your shims out unless you're super techie guy.
Yeah, if you're looking for lower pressure, even if you guys are searching for the ultimate lower pressure on there, guys, buy an SLP. Ninja sells their super low pressure regulators. So if you really want something that's going to get you down to your 400-ish range, just buy the SLP reg, because that'll definitely help you out over the long run, unless you guys really know what you guys are doing.
Because your marker will handle most of the regulation of the pressure.
Correct. A lot of people don't realize your marker already has an internal reg on it. So like, I'm going to take out all the shims and have a 450 output pressure from my tank into my gun. Sure, it's a little less wear and tear per se on the internal reg on your gun, but you guys really don't need to do that. Messing with a high pressure air system is always dangerous, so make sure the air is out of your tank. And if you guys have any questions, feel free to call us here at the shop, talk to one of our techs. It's 1-800-875-9653. And as always, the best source for Ninja tanks and tanks in general, it is LoneWolfPaintball.com.
See ya.